Hello again, Celtic faithful, and welcome back to Celtic Central News, the place where every heartbeat in this club feels just a wee bit louder, and every rumour somehow matters twice as much. Before we dive right in, a big shout to all of you who've subscribed recently. Honestly, the support's been unreal. If you're new here, hit that button, give the video a like, and settle in, because tonight we've got plenty to unpack. 5 wins on the bounce, Martin O'Neill bowing out with a victory, Wilfried Nancy finally announced as the new Celtic manager, Hearts and Rangers dropping points all over the shop. It's one of those nights where being a Celtic fan feels like being strapped to your roller coaster and loving every second of it. Hail, hail indeed. Now, let's start with the match itself, because while it wasn't vintage Celtic from the first whistle to the last, it was exactly the kind of gritty, get-it-done performance you need in December. You could see it in the legs early doors, that wee heaviness, that lack of sparkle you usually expect when the boys start ticking. Martin O'Neill even mentioned it afterwards. The squad's been running at full tilt these past few weeks, and the festive schedule's been piling up fixtures like there's nay tomorrow. Every club in the Premiership is feeling it, but there's still something about Celtic. Even when the energy dips, the mentality never quite does, and that's half the battle in nights like these. The starting 11 was pretty much what we've come to recognise as Martin O'Neill's go-to selection. No real surprises there. Donovan steadying things at the back, Trusty Scales putting himself about Sarah before his injury, Ingles keeping the tempo going in midfield with McGregor, who seems to have a motor planted somewhere inside him, and Hatate beginning to look like the Hatate we all fell in love with again. Out wide, Maeda running himself into the ground as always, and Yang, who took his moment brilliantly tonight. And honestly, for big portions of the first half, Celtic were well on top, dominant, confident, moving the ball with purpose. The only annoyance, and it's becoming a theme, was just not sticking more chances away when we had Dundee pinned back. And speaking of moments, Hatate's pass for the opener was pure magic. Left foot, crowded box, barely any space, defender at his heel, but somehow he threads it right into Yang's stride like he's got the whole pitch mapped inside his head. That's the version of Hatate we've been waiting for, and it's no coincidence the whole team looks sharper when he plays with that wee swagger again. He even had another brilliant chance in the second half, dancing through players after a flick from Engels, bending one toward goal, only for the keeper to get a strong hand on it. Little flashes like that make all the difference in these cold midweek fixtures where everything feels just a bit stickier than usual. To be fair, Tay Dundee, they weren't just passengers. At times, they moved the ball well enough to cause problems, and if Liam Scales hadn't made that mistake that let Simon Murray through, we might be talking about a very different match. Murray really should have scored. They also had a couple of nervy set-piece moments at the end, just enough to remind everyone that in Scottish football, you can never, ever switch off. That's the beauty of this league and the chaos of it. English football might have the money and the perfect pitches, but the Scottish game has the unpredictability that makes your heart go 10 beats faster every time the ball pings about the box. Celtic definitely controlled the bulk of the play, but the final product just wasn't there consistently. A few too many touches, shots delayed, a second too long, players maybe looking for the perfect angle instead of just pulling the trigger. Dundee clogged the box, as you'd expect. And sometimes on nights like this, you just need a daft deflection, a lucky bounce off a frozen pitch, something to give you the breakthrough. Celtic Park looked slippy under the lights, the kind of surface where one missed step or awkward bobble can turn an entire game on its head. But this is December football in Scotland. It's never pretty, but it's rarely boring. What mattered massively was finding the win, even when everything felt a bit laboured. And when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, 7 wins from 8 under Martin O'Neill is nothing short of remarkable. Think back to where we were when he came in. Confidence shot, injuries mounting, fans fearing we'd drift further behind. Instead, he closes an 8-point gap, drags us level at the top on points, gives us a European away victory for the first time in years, and guides us to a cup final we weren't sure we'd even survive. Never mind win. He's stabilized the club on the pitch at a time when everything off it felt like it was on fire. But of course, the night wasn't without its worries. Marcelo Sarra came off looking absolutely gutted, and with his injury history, you could feel the heartbreak from the stands. Even Schmeichel took a knock that had everyone holding their breath for a moment. This squad's been stretched thin as a violin string, and every new injury feels like a punch to the gut. But still, they push. Still, they find a way. Celtic Park itself played its part too. The crowd was far better than you'd normally expect for a midweek December fixture against Dundee, and that alone tells you how much this wee spell under Martin O'Neill has meant to the support. There was something emotional in the air, almost like everyone knew they were witnessing the end of a tiny wee chapter, a special one, even if it only lasted 8 games. Martin himself looked awkward with the attention. Classic O'Neill stuff. He tried to march off the pitch after one question before being grabbed for another, replied with about 6 words, then bolted again. Old school, humble to the core, letting the football speak for him as always. And as we roll on into this second half of the story, lads, it's impossible not to feel that the whole mood around the club has shifted again, almost like a cloud that had been hanging there for months, finally cracked open and let the light through. Folk outside Scotland might not quite understand it, but here, when Celtic starts building momentum, when the team begins playing the kind of football that gets the whole stadium breathing together, the atmosphere becomes something else entirely. Something living, something you can feel in your chest like a drum. That's exactly what's happening now. And you can see it in every player, every touch, every wee moment where confidence speaks louder than doubt. It's the kind of thing that doesn't show up on stats sheets, but hits you straight in the heart. What really stands out is how the squad's mentality has changed. A few weeks ago, we were all sitting there, wondering if the lads would manage to steady the ship, asking ourselves if the weight of expectations was starting to crush the rhythm. But now they're playing with a fire that looks awfully familiar, a fire that fans have been desperate to see again. You can see it in the way the fullbacks push high without fear, in the way the midfield works like gears meshing perfectly, grinding and spinning and linking everything with purpose. And up front, the movement is sharper, more daring, almost cheeky at times, the kind of confidence Celtic strikers are supposed to carry. And honestly, one of the biggest things that's changed is the crowd's energy. Celtic Park has always been one of the most powerful home grounds in world football, but lately it feels as if the connection between players and supporters has tightened again. When the fans feel the team fighting, they give everything back, screaming, urging, lifting every pass and every tackle. That roar isn't just noise, it's history, it's culture. It's the heartbeat of generations pouring through the terraces, and the players feel it. You can see them feeding off it. A simple interception becomes a rallying cry. A sprint down the wing becomes a spark, and a goal. Well, a goal feels like the whole east end of Glasgow exploding at once. But let me tell you, it wasn't just passion that made the difference. It was also the sheer composure the lads showed when the match began tilt in the other direction. Every season brings a few games where character gets tested, and tonight was one of them. When the opponents tried slowing the pace, dragging the rhythm into something scrappy and uncomfortable, the team didn't panic. Instead, they settled themselves, kept the ball, knocked it around with maturity, waited for the gaps to appear. That's the mark of a side that's learning to blend flair with discipline. It's no enough to play beautifully. You've got to manage the tough spells too, and tonight the lads did that with real authority. And I've got to say, there was something almost poetic about the timing of it all. The way the second half unfolded, the way the goals came, the way the players celebrated. You could feel that this wasn't just another win. It felt like a statement, a message, a reminder that Celtic's identity remains as strong as ever. You could see the bench erupting at every big moment. You could see the manager on the touchline pushing the lads, demanding more, but with that hint of pride in his eyes that tells you he knows they're responding. That's the sort of connection between team and boss that makes a season click. And speaking of the gaffer, let's take a wee moment to recognize the adjustments he made. Some folk doubted him, some were quick to judge during the rough patch, but tonight you could see his fingerprints all over the performance, the structure, the balance, the intensity. All of it came from the touchline, and the players bought in, every single one of them. The substitutions weren't just fresh legs, they were tactical shifts, boosts in tempo, wee sparks to keep the pressure burning. That's the kind of decision-making that separates good managers from the ones who can make history. But beyond the tactics, beyond the flair, beyond the atmosphere, there's something deeper going on here. It's that feeling that Celtic are building towards something again, something bigger than a single match or a short run of form. You can sense this hunger returning, a belief that the squad is rediscovering its identity piece by piece, and the fans notice it. You could hear it in the chants, louder as the minutes ticked on, echoing through the stadium like a wave that refused to die down. That's when you know the club is waking up, when the supporters start believing before the final whistle even comes. As the match wound down, there was this moment where the camera panned across the stands, and you could see faces lit up with pure joy. It wasn't the joy of relief, it was the joy of recognition, the joy of seeing the team they love playing the way they're meant to. And when the final whistle blew, the celebration wasn't wild chaos. It was something more grounded, something more assured, a collective exhale mixed with excitement for what comes next. It was as if everyone in the stadium shared the same thought. That's more like it. That's the Celtic we know. And now the question becomes what the lads will do with this momentum. 5 wins in a row is brilliant, no doubt, but the real test is carrying that energy into every match, whether it's home or away. Big opponents or small ones, shining nights under the lights or rainy afternoons where grit matters more than glamour. The fixtures ahead won't be easy, but with this spirit, this tempo, this belief, you start feeling like something special might be brewing. And Celtic fans, you know what it means when the team starts smelling blood again. They chase every point, every ball, every chance, until the rest of the league starts glancing nervously over their shoulders. So as we wrap up this second part, let me just tell you this. If the lads keep playing with this blend of passion, control, and heart, we might be standing on the edge of a brilliant run. The noise will keep growing, the performances will keep tightening, and Celtic Park will keep roaring its lungs out. And trust me, When that place roars, when 40, 50, 60,000 voices merge into one storm, there's no team in Scotland and very few in Europe who can handle it. And whether or not trophies arrive at the end of the season, whether the new manager thrives or stumbles, whether the squad stays stable or changes drastically, there'll always be this small stretch of weeks, a bit of calm in the storm, a bit of steel rediscovered, a bit of Celtic finding itself again. And at the center of it will be Martin O'Neill, a figure who came back for just long enough to remind everyone of who he is and perhaps of who the club still is too. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are swirling ruined Parkhyde this morning, the kind that mark even the maced stoic punter lift an eyebrow. A line, barely muttered yet sharp as a studs-up tackle, is said to come fae Cameron Carter-Vickers hissel. He'll no play for Celtic ever again. Nay club statement, nay clarification. Just that sentence drifting through the corridors like a cold draft fae the Clyde. Folk close to the squad claim the big centre half. Drop the remark in a moment of frustration, but the rumour mills in Glasgow dinna wait for confirmation. In pubs, frae the Trongate Tay, the Gallowgate supporters are leaning our pints, trying to work out who the he might be. An unsettled star? A squad fringe lad pushing his luck? Or could it be a player embroiled in some behind-the-scenes stramash that's yet to spill into the public eye? The mention has set tongues wagging across the green and white. Half of the city, where every raised voice in the Lennoxtown car park and every slightly frosty handshake at training gets dissected harder than a VAR check. Carter-Vickers is nae the type T court headlines, so the very idea of him uttering something, say, stark, has sent supporters rummaging through the club's recent goings-on, seeking hints in body language, substitutions, or a player suddenly missing fae the squad list. Some insiders insist it's all been blown out o' proportion. A wee comment spun wildly out o' its lane. But others swear there's genuine tension brewing, the kind of thing that can simmer for weeks afore bursting into the open. In a city where football gossip travels faster than the subway, the line has already taken on a life o' its ain, echoing through message boards and late-night radio chat as if it were gospel. Whether this is nae mair than a stray remark or the start o' a deeper rift, the truth remains under wraps. For new, but one thing's certain, with Carter-Vickers' name attached, the rumour will nae be dying doon anytime soon, and the Celtic faithful will be watching every squad list and sideline exchange like hawks, waiting to see if the mystery player truly has seen his last kick in the hoops. Hello, fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.